GG's to all Frux holders. They crushed it.
Yeah, truly amazing. I am max coping that one. I actually had a whitelist that I didn't even mint. Like I just totally forgot about it. Saw it on secondary at like 3x the mint, and I just thought I had a little bit more time, and it took off, man. What a showing for Frux.
Absolutely. And I think they just really go to show what the values in Bitcoin that people enjoy are, at least in ordinals. It wasn't about an elaborate narrative. It was the same kind of stuff that goes on with puppets. I listened to spaces that the founders of Frux held beforehand. It really got me feeling bullish for the project. They had some experience beforehand with Kaiju Kings. I think one of them was on the marketing team for them. They came up with just a fun name, Frux. I think it's fun to say, MS Paint character design, but they still did a good job of picking out some traits. I'm usually not a fan of when there's like too many traits in the collection, and I was worried about that with Frux because there are a ton of traits, but honestly, they all look pretty good. And there's still some really fun, rarer traits in there. So all in all, I think they did an amazing job with that, and they already, nailed it with teasing a rune drop to Frux holders later on. So I think the devs really knew what they were doing. They didn't go too complicated. They still had a little bit of enticing the buy incentive, and yeah, I mean, here we are, zero point 0.02 floor.
And this is like the quintessential Bitcoin type of drop where like the mint price is very low. It's like widely distributed, and it just like resonates with, I think, with ordinal collectors. Like they're not trying to like kill people on a mint price. I mean, you basically minted for essentially, I want to say about $100. I think JD actually linked us to the Frux mint last week during the show near the tail end. So we did shout it out at the end of the show. Yeah, looking really good. I think tying it to runes, like that's a whole nother story, like what will happen to the ordinal after the rune drops. But I mean, for now, who wouldn't take a 10, 20x or whatever that number is right now? I mean, 0.021, floor is holding pretty steady. I saw it as high as 0.026. It's got like a lot of puppet-esque vibes to it. So, we could be looking at this price and later on down the road be wishing that we swept it at these levels, It's very possible.
Dude, don't I know it? I was looking. So Frux came out. I missed minting it. I was going through the collection. I was like, damn, I don't know. But I'm always, whenever collections go live, I'm so tempted to just snap up the like one of ones in the collection. I mean, I guess it's all one of ones, but like the legendaries in the collection. I'm kicking myself because the character avatar of the whole collection. So like when you go on the Magic Eden page, just that green frog, someone had it listed for 0.03, and I was like, let me put in a bid for 0.02, and it sold. So the fact that the floor is 0.02, dude, to have that character for 0.03, that would have been a steal of a buy. There was a hidden legendary in the collection. I don't know if you saw that, but the Borp collection from that ETH project, really long time ago, they had a one of one Borp that wasn't listed under the legendary, but there's no others in the collection that look anything like it. That one sold for I think 0.025 and then resold for 0.14. A lot of legendary selling for like 0.1 and then again at 0.15. So there's some like pretty big flips in this collection already.
Oh, that's great to hear. I didn't even know about that. I love hiding a legendary within the collection. That's like a pretty cool concept right there.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was really fun. I really like the influence they had. They have a lot of anime stuff in there, some Kanye references, some other Ordinal collection references. So, I mean, all in all, I think it's just a really fun collection where I'm, starting to see the consolidation build up at this 0.02 range. It just makes me wonder how high can Frux go, and what does that mean for a collection similar to puppets? Is the market going to digest two collections that are made in MS Paint and are kind of just vibes based? Is that just going to be how all ordinal projects are? Hard to say. It's definitely easier to inscribe those kinds of collections because it's lower res, so it's cheaper to inscribe each trait. But I mean, we'll see. I first thought puppets were negatively being affected. Seemed like most ordinals were pretty bid. Puppets were dropping a little bit, but there was a huge sweep on puppets this morning, and we were right back up to 0.17. So seems like everything's just chugging along here, dude.
Dude, you kind of like read my mind. I wanted to go to puppets like right after you spoke about Frux. I think just based on the prices, it looks like the market could absorb both. And, I think last week we were probably at 0.14 or 0.13 when we were doing the show, and now we're at 0.175. So it's pretty healthy run up on puppets. Um, I just think like it's gonna make a comeback. I think like it looks like we are recovering. I know last week we were mentioning, have we hit the bottom? And I thought like maybe we might not necessarily be at the absolute bottom, but we're so low that it doesn't really matter. I kind of feel like we've bounced off of it now. We talked about a bunch of collections. Like we talked about the beta play off of Dog Go to the Moon with Runestones, right? And Runestone it basically doubled since last week since we talked about it. So I think there's just a lot of recovery going on. Blob, another one, it was probably down as low as 0.03, and now it's up back up to 0.046. So again, like another like 50% move off the floor. And I think as we see these things happening, I just expect kind of like more of this to continue. And I think the recovery is full on now.
Dude, completely agree, and hats off again on identifying the beta play there. I mean, you really nailed it. It should have been so obvious. I wish I took better advantage of it, but Runestones was just the premier collection leading up to Runes coming out, and there's two more airdrops to come, and definitely people who got Doggo to the Moon. I'm not sure what the exact value is. Do you know what a Runestone holder got airdropped value-wise of Doggo to the Moon and what that drop would be worth right now?
Yeah, I could tell you right now. So that drop is worth about $8,000.
No way, dude. Wow. Because I think runestones were like in the point 0.1 range for a little bit, but then I think they settled down to about 0.06. So the fact that there's worth over, that's like what, 0.13 Bitcoin? That's crazy.
And plus the runestone itself is still worth 0.018. So you're talking a good, 0.15 for holding your runestone. Not bad.
It's not bad at all. I mean, I honestly think that beta play could still be there just based on, the run up's already happened. So maybe it makes sense to wait if runes cool off a little bit and get a little bit of a, pivot back. But phenomenal call on your part. Wow. That's just identifying value from miles away.
Say after the show when we spoke about it, I bought three. I didn't go crazy, but I got three of them. I got three at like point zero, I want to say 0.09 ish, something like that.
Dude, well done. That's how to do it. It's funny. After last week, I was like saying, "Oh man, I sold my puppet. I hate to be out." And then there was just a real dip in the puppet floor. Someone listed a vanilla goblet, which has just been one of my favorite trades. So I actually bought one of those and already flipped it since then. So have definitely been doing a little bit of flipping this weekend. Really started noticing when Node Monkeys got that huge sweep. Just seemed like the volume was trickling back in. Runes got some volume, so I think it's a good sign. Like you never can bottom ticket fully, but this still think is somewhat early because it's only been a few days of sustained volume on ordinals and runes. So, I don't think that it's possible this could be a little pico top and we just get a 1 or 2 day, return of action, which we've seen before. But it feels like the tides are turning a little bit. So I really wouldn't be surprised if any of these collections continue to rocket back up. Definitely going to be keeping my eye on the pulse here and waiting for the launch.
Yeah, I mean, if we just use ourselves as an example, I bought some ordinals this week. I bought some runes this week, and like I haven't been really deploying. So if that's a signal, I think my action speaks for itself. And like same as you've been trading and buying and trading and selling. So I think like there's some volume coming back. There's more activity now, and and Bitcoin's still doing its usual chop. Hit 70K today, back down to 69. So we still got the frenzy like ahead of us, but the recovery is definitely on.
Dude, I totally agree. I think the time is coming here. And I am curious, we're always asking for audience engagement on the show. See if anyone wants to come up here and talk about the Rune Frenzy, because I saw over the weekend, I was out touching grass, but checking in. People were crushing it on these new runes coming out, dude. I think there was one called Billion Dollar Cat, and it was just 2xing nonstop. So I know a lot of MVHQ members cooked on those. I think there was some other big rune names that did pretty well. I'm not sure how sustained those were. I mainly track like the larger market cap stuff in runes, but it just seems like, we had the new launch of Frux, so ordinals did well for new mints, but it also seemed like runes, there's just plenty of opportunities off a mint. To me, that's a really bullish indicator of the rotation back into the space because once you have mints that do well, people are going to start posting on socials. Oh man, you missed Frux. Well, here's the next one. So, I think once you get more and more mints hitting 3, 5, 10Xs, that really draws a lot of attention back into the space. So I definitely think we could see some inflows coming in soon.
Yeah, I got one like full mint on Billion Dollar Cat. So like a 23 mints like off of Luminex. So that cost me maybe $100 or so, and it's worth like 2,300. So if you max minted Billion Dollar Cat, you did really really well. And then I want to say like the other things I've been looking at. Obviously, the memes have been going crazy between last night with Roaring Kitty and everything. So I'm looking at Roaring Kitty. I'm looking at GameStop Corporation. Also, another one that I'm kind of bullish on is the official Bozo. I don't know if you've heard of that room before. It's like they got like some kind of content coming out, and they're gonna be doing like memes all the time with like skits and stuff like that.
Dude, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I know that Bozo had a Solana coin in the collection. I'm not sure if it's the same conglomerate, but I do remember that there was some guy who had Bozo who made a lot of like cartoons and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. And it'll be interesting to see how the GameStop and Roaring Kitty stuff plays out on Bitcoin. I think it's funny that GameStop obviously has been pumping today and just over the weekend, a lot of news coming out with Roaring Kitty. Solana was going to say stocks. Solana coins today were going crazy with GameStop themes to them. So it'll be interesting to see if that starts happening in the Rune world. I think the market's still going to take some time to figure out what exactly it likes runes for and what it doesn't. Because I still think, in terms of just trading coins, Solana makes the most sense due to how frictionless, fast, and low fee it is. I'm not sure if Bitcoin makes as much sense. I still think it's going to have a purpose, and there obviously a ton more people adopted Bitcoin than Solana at this stage in the game. So I still think it's going to be interesting to watch the market just figure out what is this relationship, what kinds of memes or different uses are we going to see for runes versus somewhere like Solana. So it'll be interesting to see how those play out.
Yeah, I mean, the market caps of these on Bitcoin are so low. I just feel like it makes all the sense in the world. And as the UI improves, I think like runes on Magic Eden is starting to look better and better with the new advanced charting, and even on the Ordinals collections. I don't know if you noticed, but like they have the chart, and they have the chart for all time, and you could even switch the chart to trading view. So I just think like the more tools you give us to like trade, I think more people are going to be on it, because it's going to be easier to like research and look at price and see like what you think is potentially a good buy or a good sell, all that stuff. When the tools come out, then like the people are coming. I feel like that's what happened with like Ethereum NFTs back in like 2021, where all those tools came out, when like we had nerds and stuff like that. So maybe we start seeing that on Bitcoin now, with Magic Eden kind of like leading the charge.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I also noticed a feature they added was the last purchase price. So they just snuck that in there in the bottom right corner on an Ordinals collection. If you go there, it used to just show it. You have to scroll down to see where someone bought it last. But it's nice. You can just see where people bought it at. It has sort of like open sea vibes back in the day. Knock on wood, that's not the course for Magic Eden there, but I mean, at one point, OpenSea was a behemoth. I think Magic Eden has set itself up super nicely for Ordinals. Still haven't seen a competitor in sight to take on that market share. So they're just crushing it, and it's great to see that they're still innovating. Like you said, I think definitely the better UI UX we get, the further it's going to go. And I just think listening into Wake and Jake this morning. Shout out to the boys, the morning crew, absolutely crushed it once again today. But they really just emphasized again how bullish it was that we got the ETF approval for ETH, and just how bullish this is for the space as a whole. So you just think about all this money that's coming into it. Think about how big an entry it is for people to conceptualize ordinals as well as runes, and how early we are to that space. And just thinking about all of those flows that are going to be coming in, it's crazy sometimes. So I really think today was just a real wake up of, wow, we are back, and the feelings of pump and not euphoria but optimism are definitely back.
Yeah, I mean, I think dog go to the moon, like the getting to 1 billion is going to be a big deal, and we're about 100 million away. Total volume on runes today, or the last 24 hours, is over 10 million, with like 5 million attributed to Dog Go to the Moon. So I think we just need like that one that like shines a spotlight on the rest of the industry. So as long as Dog Go to the Moon could keep pumping, I think it's just gonna like suck up everything else with it. And right now it's looking good. I mean, Leonidas is out there pumping. I think like people are vibing on like X on crypto Twitter and get this OKX listing or something or Binance listing, and I think off we go. And then I think that'll like also bring up sort of like the larger runes like RSIC. Another interesting note I want to say on Pups World Peace, like if you have a rune puppet, you got like 5 days to burn it, or you're not gonna get your your Pups World Peace tokens. So there could be a huge burn on Pups World Peace, which could really like springboard the price. If you go to the collection, there's still a lot of rune puppets that have not been burned yet.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty alpha play there because I mean you're totally right. The market cap, at least for the burned Pubs World piece, is 100% going to be correlated to the supply. And I know it's already hard coded. It's not like they're airdropping it out. And I actually did see recently, just looking at people who were buying Frux, there was a few holders that just had like hordes and hordes and hordes of Pups World piece runes. So, or sorry, not runes, the ordinals. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Pups World Peace, I still think is a really interesting case because it's not officially from the Puppets ecosystem, but they endorsed it and gave their green light and stamp on it. Obviously, Puppets were just the darling of Ordinals and took over the charts when they had close to a zero point 0.5 Bitcoin floor. So it'll certainly be interesting to see. I definitely think if those heat up again and get close to highs, obviously Pups World Peace are going to follow suit. But that's a great play. I would be completely shocked if at least one of them didn't get burned or didn't not get burned, as a matter of fact. So yeah, that's a great play. There's definitely going to be a I think supply discrepancy as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, if people are not really paying attention or like have it in, wallets that they don't pay attention to, like that could really be a significant play in my opinion. And so that's kind of like what I'm looking at from the runes perspective. I am waiting on this big Royals reveal. It has not revealed yet. It was supposed to be today. I don't really know what's happening with that one, but I am waiting on this Royals reveal. Have you bought any Royals?
I just minted one that I'm holding on to, but other than that, you know me, Waf. I once again am buying Nat Cats. I bought another one today off the floor. I just think it's so funny that Frux came out and have already flipped Nat Cats. But I just believe in the thesis, man. Like I think it's as simple as that. I do really like Royals and I like how they look. But just haven't had as much time to sit there and go through the traits. I actually don't think they've revealed the pattern yet, which is kind of cool. So I do think that's a good opportunity for people listening in at home. As Royals do reveal, you can find some pretty rare traits. Like I think there's only 75 aliens in the whole collection. So I'm sure those will immediately start selling for 0.05 Bitcoin or whatever it is. Would definitely be quick to scout those reveals out, see what you can find. But yeah, man, I'm just hoping that Royals continue to crush. And then in my mind, if Royals do well, Nat Cats have to do better. It wouldn't make sense. I'm sure the market could sustain a little bit of a nonsense for a while, but anything DMT related is just going to trickle its way back to Nat. So that's all I've been buying in terms of pullbacks. But Royals are looking great, man. Price action's been awesome. They've been consistently in the top 10 the past week.
Yeah, it's like sitting around 0.008 right now. I do have like some of the numbers that could be potential like rare ones. So if your block number of your royal ends in a 0, that's a crown. So like those have been going for a premium. So anything that ends in a 0, and also if you have a 2 in the second to last number with a 5 in front of it or after it, like that's probably a rare Pepe. So that's kind of like the two I know about. And I know that the founder and the artist of the collection, King Pup Ape, he kind of mentioned some other stuff too, but those are the two that I seem to remember or recall that he kind of disclosed early on. So I'm just waiting for that. And then on NatCats, I did hear that the number one holder has about 300 remaining, and he's been the one selling and accepting like offers below the floor. So again, I think that distribution has not like finalized yet, unfortunately. So I think that's that's advantageous for anyone who wants to pick up a NatCat, because I think it's like criminally low at this point. But I'm like fully kind of allocated to that, so I am just sitting back and waiting. Same thing with Royals. I do want to get into Frux, but I'm also like a little skeptical of the floor price now, with knowing that there's gonna be a rune coming out. Like, think like once they do like a snapshot or some kind of allocation, I could see kind of like that floor price going down a bit. So I'm gonna wait to see what happens there. And then also, once the Royals reveal, I think people might, the price action and the floor action might go to that. And if you're like way up on Frux, you might like sell a Frux to get two Royals or something like that. So I am like waiting to see, like, let that whole thing play out before I decide what I do with Frux.
Yeah, really good breakdown there, Waf, and totally agree. I mean, I think in the Ordinals ecosystem, there is only so many chips that people have to spread out. I'm guessing a lot of the volume that we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks or so, at least just based on what I'm seeing on Twitter, is coming from people who are already in the space and making these big position bets. Frux only a 5,000 ish collection, and there's only 3,000 holders, which makes sense because they're pretty cheap, they're pretty cool. So I'm imagining a lot of people in the space are getting multiple Frux, but 3,000 people is not a ton of people, all things considered. So I really wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot of liquidity moving in between projects. We've talked about it a bunch, but I'll mention again just for the sake of shouting in the void. We have Blast airdrop at the end of this month, so I know a lot of liquidity is tied up there. That could be the big lever to get pulled until we see a really new inflow of cash into the space. But to your point, Royals after reveal, I'm sure the floor price might dip a little bit just because you're, banking in the cheapest, most common Royals in the collection hitting the floor. And then same thing with Frux after that snapshot. I'm sure some of that baked in runes value from a snapshot will trickle down into lower floors. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think if Royals have lower floors, you might see more people coming in, further distributing it. Same thing with Frux. If those dip, I wouldn't be surprised if the dips got bought up. Last night, I noticed it went from like 0.025 and dipped to 0.016. Seemed like a great dip buy opportunity, and sure was, still in there for a nice 40% gain if you were looking to take one.
Yeah, I mean, if you look across runes and you look across ordinals, and if you're just looking at the volume for everything, I mean, Dog Go to the Moon is literally eating most of the volume on Bitcoin right now, because like it's about 47 Bitcoin traded over the last 24 hours. Well, that's according to Magic Eden. I think it is about 5 million. So could be upwards of, say, like 65-ish. But then outside of that, you look at the ordinal collections with Frux and Puppets. They're kind of like holding up like the top two spots in terms of volume, as well as Node Monkeys, all around 15, 16 Bitcoin each. So again, like not an incredible amount of volume, but still like better volume than we've seen recently. So again, so like these things can move, like, significantly in either direction, because of like, the liquidity is just not really 100% there yet.
100%. I mean, it's not fully there, but I'm sure it will. And, just tying it all together with the UI and advancements there, the more it gets advanced and the more places it gets listed, the easier it gets because it's just going to be less and less friction. Waf, I do want to point out Admiral Snackbar just posted a pretty fire message in the Ordinals Runes BRC20 thread. So what the Fruck is the name of the rune that Frucks are going to be dropping. They've already announced a 420 million supply. So the hypothesis here is that assuming 100% of tokens go to holders, which I'm sure they will, just having listened to the guys talk on Spaces, I don't think they're going to fuck this up. Like, they really seem like they've considered it. They know what people in Ordinals want, what they don't want. People definitely don't want Fruck's team holding 20%. This is NFA. I obviously can't see into the future. I'm not communicating with that team, so I don't know if they actually are or aren't. But assuming 100% goes to the holders, seems like based on Admiral's math here, each Fruck holder would get dropped 87,500 Fruck, and at a 1 million market cap, estimates that to be worth $208, and a $10 million market cap, $2,000 per Fruck. So that's pretty crazy. And I mean, it seems like a pretty solid play just because you have the Frux, which aren't going to go to zero. I would imagine it opens up above 1 million, just given that it's a pretty well established collection already, even though it is so new, just has so much volume over the past couple of days. And, just compared to some of these other collections that we've seen, some of these like think Sats in the Hat, which is just a random meme coin with a funny name on runes. I think that's at about a $14 million market cap. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Frux do surpass this 10 million market cap and airdrop about 2K for holders. So we'll see if the market digests that. But great breakdown from Admiral Snack Bar. Wanted to call the attention to that.
That's a great call. I mean, that sounds really juicy in my opinion. I think that's a great play. I mean, when you break it down by the numbers, it seems like pretty low risk in my opinion to make that play because in essence, if you're talking about a $10 million market cap, you're essentially getting your Frux for free, right? Like you're just gonna get the 2,000 in the runes and the Frux collection has been flying and popular. I don't see like this just going down to zero, like you said. So I think that's actually a really good shout out.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, just knowing that the Frux creators there are builders and, have talked to them and I think they're working on stuff in the background. It just seems pretty bullish to me. So I definitely like that thesis a lot. I got a couple Frux that I'm sitting on. Definitely missed the golden opportunity to buy, but just seeing the trickling volumes on it and just seeing that they're doing well, I definitely think that's a collection. And you can't fade the fact that they're priced better than other collections just in terms of accessibility, right? Like I know when we were talking here and we were at all-time highs with Ordinals, puppets were 0.5, node monkeys were like 0.8. Really hard to afford those kinds of things at those crazy valuations. So if you're new to Ordinals, if you're a retail buyer at home, it's a lot more tempting to just get this thing on Frux that's already top of the leaderboards. They're pretty fun. They got a funny name, and they're right around $1,000. So I think it's a lot more easy to justify people buying those with smaller market caps. So definitely think it's a well poised collection.
I don't know if you notice this pattern when you look at some of the top tier collections, but like puppets and node monkeys, like whether the floor price has been like up or down, the volume's always been like there. But then you look at a collection like OMB, like did you see like the volume over the last 24 hours? Like there's only been 3 sales. It's only 0.83 Bitcoin total volume over the last 24 hours. And like that's the thing I've noticed about OMBs is that when they have like an event lead up, like the volume goes absolutely crazy. And then once sort of like that event is over with, it is hybrid. It fully hibernates. It goes to sleep. And I think we could be seeing like the floor price of that one go way down. And if I recall, they minted those orange eyes. Wasn't that like point four mint? If I'm not mistaken, it was like 0.4, right?
Yeah, I think it's either 0.4 or 0.44. I think it was 0.29 for holders, though.
All right, so like
Oh,
now
no,
it's
no, no. It was 0.44, sorry.
all right. So there you go. So I remember when we were first speculating about that, man, like it's gonna go down. So now it's finally happening. So I could see capitulation on OMB like occurring, sometime in the future. Especially when Quantum Cats still has something ahead of it, which is Taproot Wizard. So like if you were to be choosing between a OMB and a Quantum Cat right now, I mean I think Quantum Cat's probably like a no brainer over OMB.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you there, WAF, in terms of at least profit, at least. But that's what the weird nuance of Bitcoin is compared to other chains. Is there's just whales and there's holders. Like usually, I think the it's accepted. I think at this stage in the game with crypto that everyone's here to make profit, at least to some extent. Obviously, there's some collections that aren't going to be as financially motivated as others, but name of the game, most people are trying to make profit. Then you get into the Bitcoin realm where there's people who have just been holding for forever with no plans of selling. So I definitely have noticed that some of those collections like OMB have been drying up in volume, but it's funny because Quantum Cats as well. A lot of that volume just went away, and the lowest that Quantum Cats fell was to 0.245 off of a high of I think 0.44. But even before they ripped up to 0.44 for like a day, they were mainly cruising around that 0.3, 0.35 area. So for their low to be at 0.24 when the rest of Ordinals kind of nuked by, 50% plus, they held up pretty well. And same thing with OMB. Like they definitely did drop a little bit below mint. I think a lot of people just weren't happy about how that mint mechanic came out because it was somewhat cash grabby, or at least perceived that way. But the floor still held decently well. You know, it's definitely down, but like it held well for the collection. So something like OMB and Quantum Cats, where they're just holding the line, I think that definitely does show that there is a core of diamond handers in there.
Yeah, the range that Quantum Cats I guess fluctuate around, pretty thin range. It's not wasn't like really that wide. So I do agree with you that Quantum Cats held pretty strong, and you got some really like major diamond hands on these collections. And but like OMB, that was my point, because like they usually reward the holders, and like that's where I was getting at. Is like that it could be like a huge opportunity once the volume really dries up, because whenever they expand their collection, it usually goes to their holders. And I think last time I want to say OMBs ran up to like 1.25 Bitcoin or something crazy like that, maybe even higher than that before that orange mint. So like if you see this go down really low and then it's, you get in and there's something on the horizon, like that could be a significant pump on OMB. But I think that's like a longer term play. But just something I noticed, and I think for like traders or investors like me and you, I think we like I want the collections to have liquidity. So that's why I really try not to tie down into things like that lack liquidity. But like those are the things I am looking at. But that's why I like Node Monkey so much and Puppet so much, is like the liquidity and the volume there just never really dies out completely.
Yeah, it's a great shout, man. I mean, I think it's like, that to me is just something that's so bullish in a collection is you look at where people's price entries in. So at least for stocks, I mean, the indicator would exist on any chart, but there's VWAP, which is like volume weighted average price. It's basically just where you talk about moving averages and what's the price relative to the last couple of days. So VWAP is just based off of volume. You can still anchor it and change the dates, but the whole idea is that price gravitates towards the average that people have paid over time. It really shows itself in stocks a lot of the time. You'll see people using VWAPs, and I personally don't super love technical analysis. I think a lot of it's just like overkill and they don't always work all the time. So it's, I don't want to say a pseudoscience because like indicators do work to an extent, but just going off this concept of VWAP, that price moves towards the average price that people purchase at. That makes sense. One, just from like a macro perspective, right? It's always supply and demand. So the more people who bought at a certain price, the market should dictate that that price over time will be accepted. I know this is a big setup to what I'm going to say here, but in terms of node monkeys and puppets, think about how many people got in at those crazy high prices, right? You have so much price action that was established above zero point 0.2, above zero point 0.3. Node monkeys, particularly, man, we're talking like 0.8, 0.7, 0.5, all the way down to where they are here. So, yeah, the price is definitely down for where it is right now, but there's just so many buys that were in above that price that if you're looking at it on a chart, I would imagine we're well below that VWAP right now, just to tie that all in together. So I really do think at some point it's a matter of time until the price sends us back in that direction. And it makes sense that there's still sustained buying pressure while we are so far from the high.
I agree with that. Even like I don't like to do like too much technical charting too, but the other one I look at is like the money flow index, which is very similar to the VWAP. So like this is like way underwater at this point for like a node monkeys. But then when that money flow comes back in, it could shoot up quickly because all it takes is a couple of sweeps, and we've been seeing these sweeps happening now already. So people are kind of like loading up their positions and like getting themselves situated for the next run. I think again, we talked about, if you could get ahead of the market with what you have conviction on, it could really pay off. And I think it makes a lot of sense to have conviction on like a node monkeys. I mean, just the total volume that's ever traded is like through the roof. So I think it makes a lot of sense on node monkeys. And for a lot of these collections for that matter, I mean, Rune Stones has incredible amount of volume, not that many even listed out there. So like that's another one, like just announcement of the second rune drop could send that one flying as well, right? And then that could also send dog to go to the moon up higher too, because I think at that point, I don't know. I don't necessarily would think it's dilutive because it's a completely different coin entirely. So I don't really know how that dilutive thing would play into it. I actually think people wouldn't connect the dots on that. I don't think, but that's another interesting angle to look at. And again, RSIC has season two. I think that one, like once they make an announcement, they've been very quiet. I think we could see that one run up again just based on like what else is coming.
Wow, I totally agree with you, man. And I mean, uh, it's crazy to think that the premier rune is at an 800 million market cap or 900 million market cap today. I know, by the way, if you're going to Magic Eden, you might think, oh, there's this Fehu rune. What's up with that? It's at 2.5 billion or whatever. Just to shout that out, if you were wondering that at home, the person who minted that owns like 99% of the supply, and that still has not been sent out to people. And then it was available to mint a small portion of the supply. I mean, I think it was unlimited mints, but maybe like an additional 1% was minted. So the volume on that 1% that people minted got traded. And based on the total supply, which is not traded, it extrapolates to a 2.5 billion market cap. So when we're saying Dog Goes to the Moon is the premier rune, I'd still stand by that because I think that's the one that's actually fully diluted at this point, and people are trading based on that supply. But just as a little asterisk there, if you're wondering what's up with that Fehu rune. But yeah, runes in general, dude. The premier rune under a billion. We're talking about Solana, Ethereum approval. Looking at the meme coins over there, not Solana, sorry, but Solana meme coins. The top memes in Solana and Ethereum. There's multiples over billions of dollars, and they're on chains with a fraction of the market cap. So once again, just that barrier to entry, man. Once we get rid of it, I mean, I really think that these top runestones could easily go to 10 billion market cap. I don't think there's anything stopping them.
I mean, honestly, this is gonna sound probably crazy, but like Dog Go to the Moon, I think has like reached sort of like that escape velocity where it's kind of like separated itself from the other runes, and it would not shock me if it literally doubles in the next week. It would not shock me at all.
I'm with you, Af. I mean, I think at this point, like it's going to cause a cascading effect because, again, to your point of just cash flows and needing that extra cash flow to start us off, once it escapes and doubles, and then you see the leading rune on the chart doubles, everything else is going to follow suit in multiples. And then once that happens, you see people are going to start leaving the space. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some of that volume from Solana or Ethereum, all of those, massive volumes of meme coins traded daily. If some of that goes into runes because people are just saying, hey, that's what's hot right now. And that's always been the case for crypto. It's just a cycle of where's the cash flowing, what's hot, where can you make a buck. So it definitely, in my mind, using dog as that indicator, if that pops, I think the whole rune space is going to go with it.
Yeah, last week when we did the show, it was only Dog Go to the Moon that was moving, and you could have essentially said all the other runes are dead, right? Like, but now, like just this past week alone, we've seen so much activity and action just based on Dog Go to the Moon, like leading the charge. That I just think it makes a lot more sense that this is going to be more than what we see. Obviously, at like a almost $900 million market cap, I don't know if it could like 2x or 3x or 4x or whatever the number is going to be, but like the smaller caps could easily do like their 100x's, their 20x's. I mean, they're so low. So many of the top volume runes are still only a couple $1 million in market cap. So I mean, they got so much room to run. This is like the BRC 20 run all over again.
Oh, dude, I know. Don't I know it, Waff? It is crazy. I look at Magic Eden runes. I see Satoshi Nakamoto. Dude, I like can't talk today. You know what I'm trying to say. I see Satoshi at sub 50 million. Are we nuts? It's a top 10 rune, the biggest namesake in all of crypto, and it's at sub $50 million. I mean, once rune acceptance gets just into the populace here, that's like a no-brainer 5 to 10 to 20x. I just don't see how it couldn't. It's obviously down from when runes first came out. There was just a ton of hype on runes the first couple of days. And we've talked about this over the past couple of weeks. It's the same effect going on all year. People faded blast when it first dropped, left, then the space got hot, came back. Here we are with runes, but I mean, my God, wow, you are so right on the money there. The other leading rune stones are just a fraction of Dog Goes to the Moon. So the multiples there are juicy right now.
Yeah, big time. It's like when Wizard, the BRC20 was just sitting there like under $1 for like forever. And then it caught on, and next thing you know, it was like 12, $13. And I know it's come back, but it's still, like $6. So Satoshi Nakamoto, that's like a perfect one to like talk about because it's $2.24. I want to say like what in week one it hit like $6 or $7, right? Might even hit 10 if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not that high. But $2.24 for the was that the number 7 rune, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that? If it wasn't the 7, maybe I'm confusing that one with meme economics, but it was a top 10 rune. Satoshi Nakamoto, like it's got the name. It's sitting there like ultra cheap. Like it just seems like a no-brainer to me.
It 100%. It is rune 6. And of the top 10 runes, it was the first in that series that was actually publicly mintable. Not that that really matters in the long term, but something like Fehu, haven't even been able to trade it appropriately yet. So yeah, I mean, number 6 in a name like that, no one else can get that name. It's the founder of Bitcoin. It's something that goes back as far as the space has been around. So super crazy to see that. I don't want to say mispriced because it's priced at what it's priced at, but I definitely think there's a ton of upside there. I have actually been pretty actively accumulating that one, especially with the volume coming back into runes. And I can't resist WAF. If you say the magic 4 letters WZRD, I will be there to pound the table. Uh, Dude, I've been talking about Wizard till I've been blue in the face every WAF episode, and it's a mini victory lap right now. We are way off the lows. At one point, it broke $3. It was down to like 280. The Discord was in shambles. I can't emphasize that enough. It was like a wasteland of just toxicity there. People are yelling at each other, calling each other bad words. The founder of Wizard just kind of stepped away. People didn't know if he was going to come back, if he was going to deploy the rune eventually. I think he tweeted for the first time in a few weeks today, but my goodness, dude, am I bullish on Magic Internet Money? I can't emphasize enough. I just think it's such a no brainer in terms of mematic power, mematic space. It's, I think Wizard is close to $7 right now. So that's still putting Magic Internet Money at $150 million market cap. I think as soon as the rune is finally distributed, whether it's burn or airdrop, however that happens, that's it. That's all Maven's bot has to do is just distribute the rune, and then that's the rest is going to happen on its own, man. It's powerful.
It's funny. I haven't been in that Discord in a while, and I haven't even checked this price all week. So I had no idea that we were actually up to $6.86. Is what I'm seeing. So this is just an easy, comfy hold for me. That's why I don't even check the price, to be honest with you. I think this one's a no-brainer. Again, I mean, there was opportunity to buy this. You said at under 3. I mean, what a steal! Absolute steal. And now look at it. Now it's like a decision now, like to buy or not. But even I think at this price, it's probably only like 150 million market cap. And I think for the most memeable meme of all time on Bitcoin, 150 million market cap with Doggo to the Moon approaching a billion. I mean, like this one should be right up there with it.
Dude, I know it. I mean, I've been shouting it from the rooftop, and like I just don't know how to fade it. Like I want to. It's definitely nerve-wracking when the price went down. I was just like, what's going on? And again, this place is just a toxicity pit over in Wizard Discord. That's just kind of their vibe there. I think that is part of crypto space. It's like the same way that Milady makers just have a bizarre community on Twitter, and they're just like dedicated to offending people. That's kind of the culture in that Discord. But Discord aside, Maven's bot aside, as long as the rune can actually come out, the name is there. It really is the oldest meme in crypto, and we've just seen the power of memes over the past 2 years. I would say since Pepe, that's the focus. It's meme. It's space in the markets, and once the barriers to entry are lower for runes, even if you don't know where the meme originated, like Magic Internet Money, it's just such an easy one where I could see normies coming in and being like, oh, you got to check out this thing, Magic Internet Money. It's exactly what it sounds like. So I really think that one's going to hit a billion at some point. I'm just trying to kick back and be patient, not overthink it. But yeah, I was definitely accumulating a lot of it around the $3 range. So super happy it took off. Wish I bought more. If it comes down again, I'm definitely going to be buying more because I think it's got a ways to go here still.
Have they announced when the conversion is going to happen?
No, they have not. That's part of why the Discord has just been in shambles, is because everyone is just constantly tagging Maven's bot in there. And Maven's bot has maybe communicated like 3 times over the past couple of months, just being like, hey, I'm going on a trip. I'll figure it out later. And I think, today maybe tweeted in the Discord or something like, has the community decided what they want to do yet? So it's just pretty funny because it's like, I think he's just trolling a lot. But he is the guy that like created that subreddit Magic Internet Money and came up with that IP 12 years ago. So the fact that it's the same guy, to me, I just think it's going to happen at some point. I think there's a lot of FUD that could catch in that one. Obviously, NFA as always, something could definitely go wrong, but I think it's just a matter of time. It's just you got to be patient with this one. I don't think it's going to be anytime today or tomorrow, but at some point it'll happen.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he the motivation for the Doge founder to create Doge?
Yeah, I actually think you're right.
I mean, and look where Doge is at. So I mean, there's a lot of potential there. Looking ahead, I know JD sent this list that I just put in VC Hangout. Anything that you're looking at later on for this week? I did like kind of highlight the Tap Protocol token launch that's live right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I do think the Tap sale is nice. The whole Tap protocol powers a lot of stuff for DMT. That's by that guy Benny, who's really smart. He runs Track. I think anyone who held the Track and Pipe tokens are supposed to get part of the supply. So I'm not sure how that works, but I believe they're going to get a portion of that. So I think that's something to look into. I know there's a pretty smart community who's involved with that. I'm gonna FUD Vinny Hager here real quick. I think it's a cash grab, bro. I have big respect for Vinny Hager. I think his art and letters is a sick collaboration over on ETH. But he's charging 0.03 mint for his art. I just think it's kind of crazy. Like, I get it. You had De Lucre, who had the Bitmon, and I think his mint price was pretty high. But that was a really small collection. I think Vinny Hager is it's either 200 or 2,000. I don't remember the total supply. But even if it is only 200, at 0.03, he's really extracting like a lot of money just for putting out his artwork. So I didn't super like the mint price on that. Didn't rub me the best way. I also don't super think ordinals people love little curated series, because we did see the De Lucre thing, and I think some of those holders are still there. But there's just not a ton of volume on the collection. So I'm personally going to FUD that one. That's NFA as well. That's just my own take. I'm not going to be investing in that or minting it to flip. Royals reveal, talked about that. That is going to be an amazing opportunity for people with low bankroll to stock the charts, get some flips, catch the dip as the floor comes cratering down, sniper air, what have you. Yeah, that's kind of my rundown on the list you just shared there, Waf. Any other takes?
Honestly, my thoughts are pretty much the same. I mean, Vinny Hager, I think it's like a $420,000 cash grab. I don't think it's going to do very well. It just seems very cash grabby again, and Bitcoin space does not like that. You look at Frux, was not a cash grab, and look, it's got the community. It went to the moon, and like those are the things that we're looking for in this space. I just don't think people are willing to get fleeced on a mint, and again, I just don't think it's going to do well from minting it or on secondary or anything for that matter. The other items on the list, honestly, don't know too much about them, but I'll send the hyperlinks if anyone wants to look into them. But shout out to JD for sending us this list.
Yeah, shout out to JD always, man. I mean, he's just so on top of it. I really have no idea how he's so plugged into the entire market. Like, it's not even just Bitcoin, it's everywhere. So big shout out to JD. I'm not fully convinced that him and Mr. Bull aren't the same AI bot somewhere in the world, but we'll let some mysteries remain a mystery.
Yeah, so like looking more ahead, like on the rune side again, it seems like we got a lot of cat runes. Between $1 billion cat and cat in the sats, the roaring kitty. It just seems like we got a lot of cats. So I wonder, like, out of all these cats, which one is your favorite?
And all the cats. I personally haven't been super intrigued by any of the cats. I do think that some of the like memes are good. Cats in the Sats, it just seems like a reskin of nine or not nine. Yeah, nine cat. I'm not really sure. To be honest, there's one rune that I invested in over the weekend that I thought was interesting. It's like number 14 on the Magic Eden charts. It's called Zbit, the blue Bitcoin. And I just saw some people talking about it on Twitter and did a little bit more research. It's pretty interesting. Essentially, there's a game. It's like a multiplayer, an MMORPG, I think is the right term. Not the biggest gamer, so sorry for any top hats who may or may not be in the audience. Um, but I saw a lot of people talking about it. They have this whole ecosystem set up, and there's already this playable game out there that's looks cool already. It looks like they're developing it further, and all of the transactions are fueled by this Zbit. And then I don't know if you remember these collections, WAF, but there was these Bitcoin machines, the BTC machines that were trading for a while ago on Magic Eden, and they have like all of these in-game assets that are tradable on Magic Eden. And apparently their whole ecosystem is also on this Zbit blue Bitcoin. So I really like that as a speculation play as to gaming narratives usually popular at some point. It seems like they've already built it and it's up and running. I like that it's an ecosystem and not just a random rune with no utility. So I took a little bit of a flyer on that one. It's only at a $13 million market cap, so I figured, hey, could easily see that going to 50 if the games get played a little bit more and people discover it. So I like that as a low market cap flyer there.
I like that. We talked about game stones way, way, way back, probably a couple months ago, which was by the same team, Bitcoin Machines. They had the Zbit BRC20 as well. They sent out game stones, I think, to all runestone holders. So yeah, so like it seems like they are building in the space. It's not just a meme. So like we'll see how that goes. That's an interesting play. And then also I'd just be remiss not to call out one more cat, which was Butternut the Hellcat, created by our own Napoleon. So that's another cat that could probably come back from the dead on this run too, because I know there's a lot of influencers that are pretty bullish on that one as well.
Oh, dude, no way. I had no idea Napoleon dropped a rune there. So yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Butternut. I like the name of that. That's pretty funny. I saw Napoleon was here at the start of the show. It'd be great to get him up here, talk to him a little bit about the inspiration for his rune and putting it together.
Yeah, maybe we get him on the next one or so. I'll reach out.
Oh, true. You know what? Good shout while we're here. Just to broadcast to the communications team. I think we want to get Shaggy in for an episode pretty soon. I reached out to him a while ago. Dude, Shaggy was doing like some trekking by the base camp of Mount Everest when I spoke to him. He's like, I'm a little busy right now. I was like, oh, no worries. He's like, I'm at Mount Everest. I was like, dude, take your time, go do your thing. But would love to get Shaggy up here at some point, see what his read is on sort of the market as it falls, see if he's in on Rune June or if he thinks this is just a little bit of a pop here. But hopefully we can get him for an episode soon as well.
Yeah, would always love to speak to Shaggy for sure. That's a great guest right there.
I'll open it up again to the audience here. If anyone's listening in the crowd, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people here who I know are just great navigating the streets. If you ever want to hop on an episode of BossDawgs, I mean, it's MVHQ fam all day long. So, if you want to hop in for an episode, if you want to just sit up here with WAF and I, chat for a little bit, it's really great just to get other traders' perspectives. You don't have to be shy about speaking here. It's a close-knit group of people, so no judgment. But if there's any burning desire to be on here, share some wisdom, share some alpha, or whatever else, just chat it up. Please let us know. Shoot WAF or myself a DM, and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, for sure. Also, wants to throw out another narrative at you because, like, we got a lot of meme narratives. What do you think about like the Donald Trump coins?
Dude, it's a good question. I personally think it's bullish, but I think you have to be strategic and look at the entire crypto sphere. So there's like a Trump coin on Ethereum, there's a Trump coin on Solana, there's the Bitcoin Trump Ordinals, and now there's the Trump Runestone. For me, my reluctance is who is the one making these collections? So, If it's just a random person who popped up and made the rune, obviously the name itself is going to sell pretty well and it's going to have some kind of floor. Like I know the Donald Trump rune is doing decently on the leaderboard here. So I think, if the Trump coins continue to pump, it'll go. I'm just not really sure how high the ceiling is. Um, I think I mentioned this in a podcast I was doing last week, but last year during the World Cup, there was a lot of collections that were being. Actually, I don't know if the World Cup was last year. It might have been 2022. So apologies if I'm getting the dates wrong. But whenever the World Cup was last held, it was Ronaldo and Messi. Their tokens were just going crazy leading up to the whole match. And even during the match, it was like Ronaldo's tokens going crazy, Messi's tokens going crazy. Messi wins the World Cup. I was like, oh my God, the token's going to go through the roof. And then it just dumped because at that point it was like, oh, sell the news. So I'm wondering what is the ceiling for these Trump tokens, right? If it goes neck and neck between him and Biden, if Trump ends up winning the election, I don't know if the Trump token magically just goes to 5 million or 5 billion. Um, I would say the best bet is probably the Trump token that he's holding because I think he's now holding like $10 million worth of Trump in his wallet. That would probably be the one that I would look at. But I do think if at any point that coin pumps, the all of the Trump derivative coins that are out there will pump. But I personally haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet, just because I think the upside's getting close to being capped. That's at least how I'm seeing it, though. What do you think?
I mean, I was only talking specifically about the runes, but you're right. If he's holding like, and I'm assuming it's the Ethereum version of it in his wallet, that's probably the preeminent one to own. But like, if you look at some of the action, like, the Donald Trump, like that was rune number 294. So like a relatively low numbered rune at like a $10 million market cap. So that's pretty interesting. And then there was like a MAGA, the Donald Trump that came out like, a lot later. There's the Donald Trump. So there's like a bunch of these things on Ordinals. I don't know which one is the best, but some are up significantly. Some have a little bit of volume, not that much. Definitely degen plays like very degen on Ordinals or on Bitcoin, I should say, for these Trump coins. But you know what? Like come November, like these could be a big pop, could be opportunity to sell, like and accumulate now, like while you have a chance to.
100%, Waf. I mean, I definitely think it's, especially if you can get a good dip on it. I think at any point, if Trump starts pulling ahead in the election, especially closer to the actual election date, those coins will probably do pretty well. But it's interesting. I think there's been a bit of a cool down period. It seemed like the political meme coins were going to just really usher in this year and be the leaders. But I know Bowden's down a ton. I think Trump's doing pretty well right now, meme coin wise. But we'll see. It's a weird relationship buying stuff that's blown so much because I do think at a certain point you just have to be like, what is my risk reward here, right? Like I don't know if Trump can incorporate some way to actually tie it into real world utility. If you can buy Trump merch or something like that, yeah, that shit's gonna go to the moon. But if nothing really ever happens with it, I do think at a certain point people are gonna realize, okay, my money's better off elsewhere. I don't really think the Trump meme coins are gonna go to 10 billion or anything. So they might put it into something that could, but TBD.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely a degen play, but just something to look at. I've been trying to like exercise more patience with my plays, and I think to some of these plays you can see where the opportunity is and to like buy and where the opportunity there is to sell. So just playing it off of like the political calendar. I mean, now we're approaching the summer, so it'll probably be a bit quiet. But then when we get into the fall, I think like this stuff starts really picking up again. We'll probably see like new, call it political coins being released, and then that should pump the old ones. So just something to look at and consider.
No, appreciate the shout for sure, Wap. I mean, it's definitely a good thesis to look at. It's only at a $10 million market cap on Bitcoin. So for sure, if we get some cash flows back in there, I think it's a good name. I think there's other stuff like 19 on the leaderboard. Magic Eden is Mr. Yen, Japanese businessman. That's at a $5 million market cap. I mean, even meme economics, I personally sold all mine on that pretty early. It's just weird. The effort into keeping these communities alive is way less substantial on Bitcoin. If you go over to Solana, man, like they got farms of memes just pumping out. If there's a meme coin, a good meme coin has a community creating, devs that are creating, just a horde of memes being pushed out. But I think with meme economics, they just kind of got the name, made a couple tweets, and then didn't really do anything with it. But it is Rune 7 and at a $4.7 million market cap. So, like, nothing compared to some of these Solana meme coins. So, that's definitely an interesting one. $1 billion cat, only at $4 million. So, definitely some decent upside there. And, circling back to RSIC, which you mentioned earlier, Waf, with that whole wave 2 coming out, Rune number 8, they dominated in the pre-Rune meta, a $240 million market cap compared to Doge or Dog at 900 mil. Like, it seems like it's got a lot of upside, dude. They've just been builders through and through, have never let down their drops. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they have an ace up their sleeve in coming days here. I think there's too much upside on the Runes leaderboard if you go through it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on RSIC, and like we talked about Pups World Peace. I mean, it's sitting at 145 million. Like that's another one that could easily get up to $500 million, like no problem. Just a lot of opportunity there. I just think at the end of the day, just exercise some patience and let things play out. I mean, I feel like a lot of these things are definitely going to happen, and better be positioned now. And while things are a little bit, starting to heat up, right? So now we maybe we don't catch the ultimate bottom. We always talk about that too. You don't catch the ultimate bottom, but you kind of like recognize the trend. And if volume's coming back, then like it's probably like time to like start deploying some capital into these plays.
100%. I think that's really one of the keys that I've learned over the past couple of years of trading is, you can get burned pretty quickly if you're trying to catch the knife too soon. I think if you try to catch the knife, you definitely can't go all in at one point. You really have to scale into it. But just talking to a lot of traders, like we had Lizard Capital in here a few episodes ago, and he brought out just waiting for that confirmation. And this is certainly it. There's definitely confirmation that better volumes coming in. We hit a dead zone during May, already an uptick in volume. So, knowing the volume is here, yeah, it's still, you never know what happens. There could always be a major event that pulls away some of that liquidity or the volume, but I definitely look at that growth in volume as when you want to be getting in, because I'm sure we're going to have a Wafdawg or BossDawgs episode in a couple of weeks or months or whenever, where we do get the pump. That's not when you want to be buying, right? You want to be buying before we get that massive euphoric moment of like, holy shit, dude, we did it. Everything's 10x already.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, ideally, you want to be selling into the strength, right? Like, and you want to buy the weak. You don't want to buy the weakness, but you want to buy during the accumulation phase, and you want to sell into strength. You want to be like you want to be catching the wave the right way. You don't want to be caught like on the wrong side, and that takes a lot of time to kind of learn and not FOMO. And I think like over time, that's like one of the things I've learned as well.
100%. Well, heck yeah, dude. This has been an awesome one. I'm really glad that we're back cooking in these streets, man. And obviously, we're here picking up like we never left off. Yeah, wow. Anything else top of mind? Anything else wisdom wise, rune wise, ordinals wise you want to leave the audience with?
No, I just think you know what, we've been chopping along the Bitcoin price, and we haven't reached that hurdle yet. But I feel like we're close. I don't know if we come back here and next week, June 10th, if we'll be at the all-time high. But I think there's it's definitely like greater than a 0% probability. I think I'd give it like a 25% chance next week we're at all-time high next show.
Woohoo! Let's see it, dude. I love it. Mark your calendars, folks. We are in Rune June. WAF is calling it all-time high, June 10th, next episode. But all right, WAF, great chatting with you as always, man. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Crush it, crush it, crush it on the Royals reveal today, dude. I hope it goes super well for you, and we'll talk about it next time.
Thank you, man. And as always, pleasure to be co-hosting this show with you. Great vibes throughout, and let's do it again next week.
Sounds good, dude. I'll see you then. Until next time, everybody. Have a good one.
Later.